Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining tonight's talk, which is Hard Conversations with Rob Slater on Culture Shift Media, where we will be having conversations, hard conversations that typically we don't have in our communities and our culture consistently airing each and every single Thursday. So thank you for joining us. And so tonight, I wanted to bring a subject matter to the front that has been dear and personal to me and also interesting. For those that don't know, I was recently a candidate for Congress and been an advocate for women, and all citizens, of course. I am mindful that there are certain demographics and certain groups that are affected by certain things more so than others. And tonight, I want to bring to highlight regarding African American women. And there is a silent racist disease that exists that primarily focus and targets this group, Black women, as well as Latina and Asian women as well. And matter of fact, 1 in 537 Black women are affected by this racist disease called lupus. When I was running for office and doing research on a slew of issues, and primarily I started getting into lupus and things like alopecia and hair loss and things that affect women in our society. And as a man, I can't relate personally to some of these issues. But as a man from a matriarch family and a fighter for women, not just their rights, but to understand their plight more, I've learned so much. And I don't think that as a whole of the community, we take things into consideration. In today's politics, in today's world, in today's economy, anytime there's a recession or there is inflation, the Black woman is at the bottom of the hierarchy, meaning that the things that we feel as men, Black men, or even white men, it multiplies as it goes down. And at the bottom of it is Black women. They bear the brunt of so much that goes on in the world. However, they're one of the largest voting blocks, especially in the Democratic Party. They vote highly and they turn out more consistently, more so than any other group besides independents. But are they getting a return on their investment of their vote? Are they truly being segmented and targeted and advocated for in our political system? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, doing my research, I found out that the United States spends more money on dog and cat urine research than developing a cure or understanding lupus. As a matter of fact, as 20,000 to 30,000 people die each year from lupus, the government only spends around 50 million a year on this topic. 50 million a year. Do you know how much money those missiles that's being shot in Iran cost? We have a missile that is being shot in the Middle East that is worth more than that just to bring down a $30,000 drone. $50 million. Matter of fact, the government and other institutions gave Rice University a grant for around that sum to investigate or create a sniffing device to seek out cancer amongst people. Whether it happens or not, it was a project, $50 million in one day to one institution for an issue that's serious. Cancer is serious. But that one amount is spread out for a whole year and it's taken away 30,000 people. So let's talk about it today. I invited two very strong women to join the show tonight to talk to you about their personal experience, to inform us, to educate us, and most importantly, they're not just suffering from it and fighting this, they're doing something about it. And so I would like to welcome Ms. Zuriel Gibson and Ms. Pamela Gillis to the show. As they come on, I'll let and tell you about their organizations and what's going on. Ms. Pamela, thank you for joining tonight. Ms. Gibson, thank you. Ms. Gillis, tell us about yourself. Think you're on mute. We still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, I hear you now.
Okay. I'm going to start it over again. My name is Pamela Gillis, and I am a lupus warrior. And I have just began with an organization that I am forming called the Dilla Effect, which is a fundraising event. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm Texas born and raised. I've been diagnosed since 2007 with lupus.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say and educating us about this racist disease. Miss Gibson, thank you for joining us. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me on, Mr. Rob Slater. I'm actually really excited to be here and discuss this topic that I have been advocating for a very long time. I was diagnosed with lupus in 97, right after graduating high school. And my organization is Gibson Lupus ARC, ARC standing for Autoimmune Resource Center. I'm just being able to reach out to the people and help them out. We've been able to officially do that as a nonprofit since 2016. So I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you both for joining us. It's a pleasure, and I have put up some notes, and I'm pretty sure you guys can expound on it. I googled it, and as I learned to educate myself. But for those that don't know, let's talk about exactly the clinical definition of what lupus is. It's a chronic autoimmune disease where the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy tissues, causing inflammation, pain, and potential damage to the joints, skin, kidneys, hearts, and lungs. It causes the body to produce antibodies that attack its own cells, often resulting in severe fatigue, joint pain, skin rashes, butterfly rash, and fever. It has flares and remissions. Symptoms often appear in waves known as flares, followed by periods of remission. There is no cure. While no cure exists, treatments like hydrochloric, I'm not going to try to pronounce those, you guys may know, but there are some things that may treat it, but not necessarily cure.
Right.
And so what I wanted to ask you guys in starting off is, you know, been in the political arena and given today's times and so much, I mean, so many of our communities are disenfranchised from the political process. I mean, you cannot get on social media without something, whether you're for Trump, against Trump, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, wherever you fall in. We're not even separating on that. But however, what we do know is that facts are facts. Dealing with, and I'm speaking specifically, unapologetically about Black women is one of the largest demographics and voting blocks that go and do and vote, right? But how, when you vote and cast that vote, are you demanding advocacy for this issue that's affecting Black women, whether you have it or not? What are Black women having such that power demanding in return? And when we mobilize as leaders, these are something that I personally seek out to do, is to mobilize these groups, Black women, to add strength and power to their advocacy. So they're just not going out there and vote because they like someone or someone is their soror sister or something like that, but they're actually addressing and demanding the issues that specifically affect them. Because I stand with Black women, and I don't think that every time we say Black women, we're not speaking or advocating for another group or white women or so on and so forth. Yes, we could say Black women matters without saying all women matters, because it's unfair that this racist disease is not attacking all women, it's attacking Black women. And the research and the support for the research and the awareness of this, it's just not there. And so thank you guys for joining. And I want to start off with you, Ms. Gillis. Tell us, just talk to us for a couple of seconds about, when did you find out you had lupus, and how has it affected you personally? How do you live with it?
Oh, wow. So I first found out because I was a 30-something-year-old woman that was having strokes, and nobody could tell me why I was having strokes, and nobody could tell me why I was staying so anemic, and or why I was losing my hair, or why I was having dental problems. And it just so happened that there was a particular doctor, and he said there got to be a reason behind it, and he ran all these different weird tests. And this is when I found out this is the only time you're going to get tested for lupus. Those tests are very expensive, so they don't go out their way to check the odd. You know, lupus has odd symptoms. Not too many people put them together. You know, And that's how I found out. But I started off finding out I had Sjogren's first. And then when I went and had later testing done, that's when they told me I was, lupus SLE. So for me, every day it's attached to you every day when you wake up to when you go to bed. Um, every move that I make, it has to center around that. Um, and even as when I vote or when I put out, I listen to candidates and when they talk and you're running to represent me, that's the first question that come out my mouth. And if you can't answer me right off the bat, then we can't have a conversation. You won't get my vote or you won't get my support because a lot of people suffer from it, but for us as Black women, we don't get that representation right up front. We have to go these other avenues. So,
Gotcha. And so
yeah,
let me ask you, in asking a politician that and for their vote, have you seen a return on that? Has there been someone elected official that has addressed this issue or provided a resource or program in your eyes?
no, absolutely not. Even the
Hmm.
Black politicians, it's kind of like a pat on the head and push along, and then you don't hear anything else about it. So, no.
Ms. Gibson, how about you? Tell us, when did you first find out? How are you living with it, and negative, positive effects, and how are you advocating for it?
Um, long story. I was straight out of high school. I went to stay with my dad in California, and in doing so, there was a moment where I could, I had a hard time breathing. My breath was just really short. So I called my mother, who was in Houston, Texas. She was the LVN, and she told me to call 911 right away. My body continued to get weaker and weaker to the point where I had to leave the door. I was at the front door, had to leave it open and sit there to wait for the ambulance to come get me, and then watch them lock up. And after that, I fell asleep. In much pain, but I guess I passed out, I guess you could say, but to me, it was like sleep. I opened my eyes one time and I saw mountains and felt at ease. So the next time I woke up, my mother was pacing back and forth at my feet. Mind you, I said she was in Houston, Texas, and I was in Moreno Valley, California. So I had to be out for quite some time. But I woke up to a doctor saying, there's nothing else we can do. She's going to die. And they didn't know I was awake listening to that part of the conversation. My mother said, my daughter will not die, and you're going to test her for lupus. And they said, ma'am, she doesn't show the signs of lupus. And I don't know what exactly she told them, but then they ended up testing me, and everything came back positive. So that's literally how my story began. Almost dying. My mom would look back and she said she didn't know how she didn't put two and two together because she had lupus. And she said I showed symptoms since I was really young, but she had never put those two and two together because at that time, you didn't find lupus in kids and it was very unfamiliar to a lot of people. So after that, I get back to Texas. She takes me to my grandmother's, and I'm literally in and out of the hospital for years. I could drop at any moment. My sister used to make fun of me because she said you go on vacation a lot, you know. So it was just at any time it's like all the hospitals knew me, and that began my journey where I just everything hurt, just literally I didn't know how to live my life anymore. I had to take different steps, look at life differently. And I went through so much to the point at the end, I won't say necessarily the end, but when my body started lightening up, because I literally was expecting to die. Let me back up. I had a doctor even tell me, he said, you'll die at 21. You won't have kids and you'll die at 21. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I had went to the doctor by myself. And he was just so nonchalant. He was like, yeah, go home and you'll have to go home and deal with that. And I didn't know how to tell anybody that I was scheduled to die. And so when my birthday came up, I no, it was 24. He told me I would die at 24, excuse me. When my birthday came up, I was really shocked that I was even alive. I was like, oh, well, maybe he was off by a couple of days. I had went through depression and everything. And of course, being young, you party till you can't stop because that's the only thing you can control. You're trying to live as much life as possible. So when I woke up, I was like, I'm still alive. And I asked God, I was like, well, what are we doing now? I waited a whole year to die after that because he said I was supposed to die. I didn't die. And I asked God, I said, so what are we doing? Because at that time, I started to get my footing back and I was doing things differently because I felt like I partied enough. And he said that I went through what I went through because he knew I would tell my testimony. And that's how my journey started, by helping other people with what they eat, either with what they eat, what they drink, how they respond, how they act, talking to them, mentally, because I had been through so much. It's very rare that somebody gets lupus and nothing else. So dealing with all my body aches and everything, and then the different doctors with these God complexes, it just made it really hard, to the point where I didn't want anybody to go through what I went through. So I just kept talking. That's just all I could do, was just keep talking. And that's how my journey started.
Well, thank you to you both for your testimonies. And I would say, unfortunately, in my lifetime, there are about 2 to 3 people, a friend's mother or loved one, that unfortunately has passed away um, from lupus, and not everyone makes it. And the point of a subject like this, with the hard conversations, and it's not to fan the flames, if you will, but it's to talk about. Hold on a second, Ms. Gibson, can you mute that real quick? It's to talk about a why, and let's reflect and look at something. There are diseases that has existed in the past in this country: polio, yellow fever, measles, things that have existed that just didn't die out, or whatever the case may be. It was invested in, and it was either cured or mitigated to the point that it no longer existed. But facts and data have shown that, unfortunately, when something affects a minority group or small demographic, it's not prioritized or researched. It just kind of exists and treated like a band-aid. If it affects a masses or a majority white community, then it becomes serious. Let's be honest, COVID, things have happened. It came out of nowhere. And because it caused so much havoc, it became a priority. Guess what? We were able to kind of tackle that and go head on. And so what blows me away is the fact that only $50 million annually is spent on this. You have local state representatives in the state of Texas that bring bigger budgets back to their districts to do all type of things. The money is there. Why isn't it a priority to figure this out? And let me tell you this also, because not just from a health perspective, economically, it's impactful. Black women make up around 3% of the entire population. And just as an example, 12% of the federal workforce were Black women. And so recently, when those federal cuts happened and 300 people lost their jobs, it affected the Black women the most because they held the highest, ratio of those jobs. Let's talk social economics. For whatever reason, we're not going to mitigate that here, but Black women are leading as the head of households because of a lack of a male figure, whatever, single mother, whatever the case is. And so when a Black woman goes through something, this health crisis, the world stops in that household. Those kids still have to get dressed to go to school and still fed, and money still have to come. And even a married woman, that's contributing to the household, that dad got to pick up some slack. So it affects the Black community a lot more differently because the Black community depends on the Black woman in their household. And so from an economic status standpoint, as well as a health care standpoint and a human rights standpoint, we have to mobilize and communicate to bring awareness to this matter. And so, Ms. Gibson, starting with you, with your organization, when was it founded? What have you done, and what is the purpose and mission, for your organization? Tell us about, you decide to not just live with it, but to help and contribute to the fight against it. Talk to us about it.
Well, first and foremost, the main thing was advocacy. Teaching people how to be an advocate for themselves, but also understanding who they are as a person, that they're not their disease, and not to just be stuck in a state of depression or overthinking things and listening to a doctor to a certain extent as if he lives in your body and you don't, because we get talked to like that. And my journey, I leaned on the doctor so much as if he was God, because he's supposed to know all these different things, and having to learn that I needed to do things for myself. But when you get into a state where you have these flare-ups, and then you're medicated, and then you still have life to take care of, you're trying to figure out each step. So my organization, I am a disability empowerment life coach. I am a community health worker. So what I do with this organization is I help people walk through their journey and understand it from their standpoint, as if I'm looking through their eyes, asking them so they know how to even move forward. Within the organization, we've raised money for people who've needed money for medication. We've raised awareness just so people know it's not a month, it's a year-round thing, and how to deal with that when people dismiss you. Because unfortunately, a lot of people with lupus that are sick or even have flare-ups do not look like they have a trace of anything wrong with them. So they tend to get the questions of, you don't look sick, so what's going on? Why can't you hold a job? You look just fine. Everything's based off your looks. So I help change that mindset, that, of feeling unworthy and as if you're lazy when you're really not. We actually just started doing health and wellness community networking events, so people can actually meet people on a bigger spectrum of not just the hospital or the organization, but think about life. Trust, whether it's a trust fund, whether it's life insurance, how do you live your life one step at a time? And understand that you're not living for tomorrow, because tomorrow is not promised. You're living for today. So what are you going to do to make it through today? And we wrap our organization around that. And like I said earlier, um, it's very rare that you have lupus and nothing else. It happens, but it's very rare, because lupus opens your door. It's that swinging door, the door that's supposed to be protecting you from all these foreign things that come in to try to attack you. It's broken. So it lets in so many different things. So therefore, we go through we do acknowledge other ailments, to help people understand things about their life. So that's what we've taken on right now. And then we do have some other things that we're trying to put on the pipeline, but we're trying to make sure everybody, instead of being scattered all over the place, comes to one path and know and understand that path that they're walking on. And that's what we do with the organization.
I do. And Miss Gillis, I understand you have actually an event scheduled for this Saturday, May 2nd, I believe. But tell us more about your organization, your advocacy. I understand that you're also like a DJ. You do a lot of things in the hip hop community, and so you're bringing awareness in kind of a different way to reach a different demographic in an innovative way. Tell us more about that.
Sure, yeah. So this Saturday, May 2nd, I will be, excuse me, can't talk, sorry. So May 2nd, we will be having a fundraising event. And this fundraising event is with the Lupus Foundation and the J. Dilla Foundation. Um, I am a DJ, so you say, and I just feel like this is kind of like bringing two worlds together, because we have a lot of celebrities, that are in, music, whatever, but nobody still knows exactly, what they're sick from, or what they're going through, or why they can't do a 30-day tour, that they have to take, one day at a time. Or you might not see them for a while, because you have to heal after you do something. And it's just part of the way that you live. I started my organization last year. I had the first event last year with the hip hop school Break Free. And this year, I just combined the two again. We came back together again, and this is a sneaker ball. So it's going to be fun. but it's also going to be educational and just let you be aware because, yeah, you could be a sick person and people look at you and don't understand why 1 minute you're good and the next hour you're not. That you have to go and sit down somewhere and just be quiet. And a lot of people, if they don't see it or experience it, they're not going to learn it. I mean, and that's how I feel like how she goes out and she advocates and you talk about it and you keep talking about it and you just let them know and you give them examples. Even if you have to put up funny memes or anything like that to just show, and that's how people get the idea, oh, you might not look sick, but you are sick. Well, let me help you. And that's the whole idea for the sneaker ball. So.
Good deal. I love it. And I have, had the opportunity in the past to kind of come to both of you guys' events. And Ms. Gibson, I remember that, you did an event and you integrated a fashion show. And when I speak of, Ms. Gillis and interactive with the sneaker ball, I think it's important because one thing that's not talked about enough, and it's what brought my awareness is, I'm an advocate for like with alopecia, which is general typical hair loss. But in our culture, and I know in my household growing up, or to the Black woman, hair loss, the way that you look and you feel about yourself is so keen and important to the way of life. I mean, it affects the whole household, especially our young girls. We're so self-conscious. And in today's world, it's fact that it's enough roadblocks and enough challenges to deal with your hair. If your hair is straight, is it kinky? Can you wear dreads, wigs, hair pieces? Are your eyelashes too long, as they recently attacked Jasmine Crockett for having? They attack the look, and in society, yet they will exploit your look. They talk about your lips, but then they pay to go get them lips. They talk about your behind, and they go pay to get that behind. So Black women, as far as the messaging is, your beauty is exploited from and imitated, but yet the messaging is already there for you not being good enough. You have to work twice as hard for these jobs. You have to look a certain way. You have to, code switch. You can't talk a certain way that you normally do with your dialect as you would in a professional workplace. So given those challenges and you go through something like a remission from lupus, I just want to drive that home to the viewers because it not only affects from a health standpoint, it affects how you feel about yourself. And what does that say to our young girls and our young boys growing up? And so to convey that message. And so that's an important key. And I want to talk to you both is because I know when I hear lupus and I hear about it on the surface and I see people go through remission and they bounce back, we tend to get complacent to think, oh, it's temporary and it too shall pass. But we don't know how can we be supportive during those times. We shouldn't treat it just like a Band-Aid. What can we do proactive to not make you stressed out or understand your pain and pick up the slack? And so just like we cope with people coming back from our soldiers coming back from war with PTSD or somebody with the drug addiction, whatever the case, there's a need for education for the support system to acknowledge, recognize, and support and contribute. What say you guys about that? What, in your experience, starting with you, Ms. Gillis, what type of support do you have, and what do you say to the world if they have a loved one that suffered from lupus, how they could be supportive and understanding in this cause?
Oh, well, that's a good question. So for me, I was just blessed to have a supportive family and, who listen, but they also go through the experience with me. So when I'm down, they understand because they see it. As far as anybody else, communication, and if you don't have that family support, there's plenty of groups and social circles that you can reach out to. And if you go to the Lupus Foundation, they have a whole list. They have a whole scheduling, something that might be in your time. If you don't want to go out the house, there's plenty of, stuff that you can stream or talk to someone just personally, one-on-one, if you are not ready to be out. in the public. Um, I just feel like that's where the support has to come in first and foremost, just the respect and the communication. Because you're not going to know how a person feel unless they're able, allow them that space to speak to you and tell them how they feel, no matter how hard it is. And even if you don't understand it, just still take it all in, because then that gives them a chance to get it off their chest. So that's my suggestion. That's how I feel.
Ms. Gibson, how about you?
Unfortunately, my family didn't understand about lupus, so I didn't really have that family backing like that. So I had to learn, even though my mother had lupus, when she dropped me off to my grandmother, she didn't live in Houston. She actually lived in the valley close to Mexico. And she didn't explain a whole lot, unfortunately. So I had to get out there and do things by my own. What's very important is one, do not pity. Do not pity anybody with an ailment as if they're crippled or something like that, because it gets very frustrating, to have someone over exaggerate what you're going through. And, I can understand empathy and things like that, but don't over exaggerate what I'm going through to the point where I did have some family members. Basically, if I stayed in a bubble, they'd be okay. They didn't want me to do pretty much of anything. And that doesn't work when you're really trying to live life. So like she was saying, be that support system who's going to listen and don't always try to fix it. It's not meant to be fixed. Sometimes you just need to get it out. You need to scream. You need to decompress, because stress is one of those major factors to that creates a flare up in someone with an ailment. Well, with lupus. So, in me, I was always favored with someone I could just sit there and scream and be like, I'm just going through this. I know it'll pass, but this is really, really hard, and I need a hand to hold. And, I was blessed with my best friend, Pete Hernandez, at one point. Everybody had their time and their season that came into my life where I could actually speak my mind, which actually helped me continue to believe in myself that I could still do things as a person and not somebody with a label with all the data that says, oh, you have lupus. So it's very important to be able to express yourself and understand yourself pretty much better than anyone else understands you, including the doctor, but being able to speak and have that kind of support system. I didn't really do the groups because unfortunately when I started doing those were so much of a pity party. They kept me down instead of allowing me to vent and then lifting me up. I was like, it was just too depressing to go. They've changed. They've changed a lot. Lupus Foundation of America, absolutely amazing organization that they've transitioned into because of the type of events that they have, where it's all inclusive, where you don't feel like you're the next person that's going to die in the group. So that's what I feel like support is. Support should be an ear. Allow me to be able to get out what I need to get out. If you have some solid advice without the condemning look or attitude, because you look a certain way, or they'll go back and be like, "Well, I saw you over here doing this the other day. What's wrong with you now?" And be like, "It comes and goes, and I try to do what I need, what I can do when I'm up." And I'm trying to be happy, be happy for me in the moment. You know what I mean? But when I'm not good, I'm not good. Understand that it's not faking. As you see me and this beautiful young lady on the video, neither one of us look like we're going through anything. We look like everybody else. So it gets hard, especially when you start downing yourself on the inside. Well, I don't look bad. Maybe they were right, and I maybe I should do something different. Maybe you're doing everything you do if you can make it through the day. That's so that support system, it starts within yourself, without making yourself go into this deep hole, and then continue without to showing others how to deal with you, and remembering everybody ain't for you. So it doesn't matter if somebody next to you says, oh girl, oh boy, you don't even look like it, all the negative stuff they have to say. You learn how not to absorb it into yourself, and then have your pity party, or just believe that identity that they're trying to give you. So yeah, that's what I've done for support in my little circle of me, because I'm single with no kids. So it can get hard, and it's much different when you're on your own and you don't really have that somebody to lean on until God blesses you with someone to lean on, whether it be for a season or lifetime.
Good deal. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. But I know that my camera is frozen. I don't want to have that look right there
That
go
look.
viral. So I'm just gonna take my camera off. But no, I think it's very important too to reiterate. It's kind of a blessing and a curse. I mean, the black woman have endured so much and showed so much strength and pushed through so many things that the outside take that for granted. And so when you do need that break or you do need that pause, unfortunately, people don't understand or they minimize it, think, oh, well, you'll be okay. You had your rest yet? Now get back to it. And that's totally wrong. And that's where we have to educate not only empathy, but understanding on when that break and that pause is happening, not only to just leave that person be, but where can you fill in the void? Where do you step in at? And so those are the things that as a community we must do more to educate and also most importantly provide resources. Last thing for me, and I'm a big advocate for you know, I tell people all the time, I ran for office, but I'm not a politician. I'm just an advocate that's in politics. And so, I say things that don't nobody say. My problem with elected officials and peers, no matter from what party, is that I see them at you guys' events. I see them come with the piece of paper of proclamations and appreciations from the office, and all that looks good. But where's the check? Where's the money? Where's the listening? Where's the advocacy for? You're using the groups and organizations to show up and give your speech, and you're in the community, and then you dip off 2 minutes later. And you know what, big dog? I'm not even mad at you. I encourage warriors like yourself to demand more. And when they fail you, hold them accountable. Don't let them just show up to your events to get your voter base and a photo op, and then they dip. And so when we demand more, changes will happen. And that is my commitment to these causes to mobilize and educate individuals and organizations to demand more from those that be, because you are the voting block. People can't get elected without your vote, but you're not getting a return on that investment. So last real quick, I want you, Miss Gibson, if you can drop your website or your social media handles where people can follow you and follow your events. And then Miss Gillis, you can go as well.
Well, my social media handles, I have several, but my main one that talks about everything, because I also deal with autism and learning disabilities, is Zarel Gibson CEO. Zuriel Gibson, GIB as in boy, SON CEO. That's on all platforms. You can reach me at ms.zarel@gmail.com or info@zarelgibson.com.
So yes, you can reach me or you can connect with me www.thedillaeffect.com. Social media handles is DJ Southern Flavor with the A at the end. Um, yeah, and of course, like I said, May 2nd is the sneaker ball. It would be in Pasadena. It's 410 uh, Fairmont Parkway, Pasadena, Texas. If you want to come by, have some fun, wonderful food, drinks, vendors, and plenty of entertainment. So definitely come and check us out. But that's how you can reach me. Any questions, just hit me up on the social media.
Good
I
deal. And I
forgot I
hey,
got a website.
huh?
I said I forgot I got a website.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's your website? Go ahead.
She reminded me. She reminded me. She's like, oh yeah, I got one of those.
Go ahead. What's your
It's
website?
www.zarelgibson.com. You'll be able to find out everything you need on that site.
Love it, love it. And again, I'm sorry I can't put my ugly mug back on this screen, but I like to not just talk that talk, and I like to lead by example. So here at the Culture Shift Comedians Culture Shift Media and our parent company, the Culture Commission Coalition, where we advocate and fight for these things. We don't just talk about it, we try our best to be about it. So with you guys having on, one thing that we pledge and commit to you today is that all future events that you have, please send us your information. We're going to promote it. We're going to get behind it. And if you have a 30-second commercial, we will run it on our programs and always invite you back for awareness and give you a spot and an additional platform to help educate it, because we can't do it without you. And so we want to connect and figure out how we can mobilize and where we could get it done and give those updates. So I appreciate you for not only existing and providing and building and loving and being a part, but also what you're going through and still deciding to do something about it, because so many women are dependent on you. And to those out there that is watching tonight, please like and share, support these organizations, reach out, spread the word, tell a friend to tell a friend, because even if you're not going through it, your sister, meemaw, grandma, daughter, auntie, cousin, somebody is or can be. And so do your part, support our sisters, and just learn more about it. Google information, see what you can do and contribute and donate to these organizations to give them the resources to be impactful. So that's tonight's show. Thank you guys for having us. Tune in each and every Thursday, but go to Culture Shift Media on all social media handles, including YouTube, to follow other programming as we advocate and we are impactful and result driven. Thank you guys for tonight's show. See you next week. And we're going to stand by before we cut. Miss Tracy there? Hold on 1 second. Let me get on the phone.
La 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 la. Oh.
Great job, ladies. She's going to put us in the background. You guys did